Hey, I'm Amanda, and this is The Middle of It, a podcast about the messy, beautiful, in between parts of life. Last time, I shared more of my story, and we talked a lot about the middle, what it really looks like to be in it. Today, we're digging into something that lives deep in the middle, the stuff we hide, the things we do in secret, the behaviors we minimize, explain away, or try to forget. And more importantly, why we do them. Because shame, it thrives in secrecy, but healing begins with honesty. So let's talk about it. At a meeting recently, someone shared this. Think about your biggest regrets. How many of them involved alcohol? And I sat there stunned because for me, almost every single one. There was the time in college I got separated from my friends after a concert in New York City and ended up in a town I didn't even know where I was. Also, the time when I passed out on my landlord's front steps because I left my keys at my friend's college an hour away. He found me there in the morning and had to help me to bed. There was also the recent time I was on a boat dancing like a complete moron, and my kids, they still laugh about it, and my friends and I, we joke. But inside, that wasn't me. That wasn't who I wanted to be. The shame didn't come from what others thought. It came from me, from how far I felt from my actual self. On my 35th birthday, I had just been in the hospital with ulcers, and the doctor had found spots on my liver. When I followed up with the gastroenterologist the next week, he said that I had to cut back on the drinking and to try not to drink at all. Well, my birthday party was coming up that my friends had planned for me. And he said, and I quote, everything in moderation, 2 drinks max. I could do that. So, the day of the party, I filled a massive tumbler with vodka, added a splash of lemonade, and called it one. Then I did it again and called it two. After that, I have no idea. There were probably shots involved, but I really don't remember. I completely blacked out. I don't even remember calling an Uber, but somewhere along the way on the way home, his app stopped working and he was asking for my address so he could get me home. And I couldn't speak. I physically could not form words. That moment, it was terrifying. If that driver had been a bad dude, that night could have ended very differently. The next morning, I checked for my car, terrified I had driven. I hadn't, but I didn't remember much. The thought that my kids could have come home to a very different mother that morning still gets me. And here's the thing, I drank again that day. Even after the fear, even after the shame, even after saying never again, because I wasn't ready to stop yet. I was still trying to avoid the feelings instead of facing them. When you think about the things you keep to yourself, what comes up? For some, it's alcohol. For others, it's binge eating or not eating, secret shopping, sex, obsessing over someone, over exercising. It could even be hitting order now at 2 a.m. for stuff you do not need. For me, hiding alcohol was going to a party and having just a few drinks to look normal, knowing I had a handle of vodka in the freezer with my name on it when I got home. Or something that I did very frequently in COVID, telling the cashier at the liquor store that I was having a party. Yeah, party of one. I used to think addiction meant doing something every single day. And since I drank 5 days a week, I told myself that those 2 days of not drinking meant that I didn't have a problem with alcohol. But that's not how I see it today. Today, I define addiction as when something becomes destructive in your life, but you keep going back anyway. And here's the thing, none of these behaviors define you. They're not you. But if you're hiding them, that's your clue. Not because it makes you bad, but because it might mean something deeper is going on. Hiding is protection, it's a defense, but it also keeps you stuck. So often we ask ourselves, am I really that bad? But that's the wrong question. The better question is what I'm doing actually helping me feel better? Because when you take away the labels, the judgment, the shame, what you're left with is how your life feels. And if it doesn't feel good, maybe it's not about how bad you are. Maybe it's about how much better it could be. Here's what I've learned after a lot of trial and error. You can't really understand the pain behind a behavior until you stop doing it. You have to feel the thing before you can heal the thing. And that part sucks. It's the middle, the part no one posts about, the uncomfortable in between where you're not numbing anymore, but you also don't have clarity yet. But that's where the work happens. That's where you learn what you were running from. And that knowing, that's where real honesty begins. Deep down, we don't cut back because things are good. We do it because we know they're not. Cutting back feels less scary than quitting. It gives us a sense of control and it doesn't feel so final. I get it. When I first started toying with the idea of cutting back on drinking, I decided I was going to start running again. Because if I'm running, I'm not going to want to drink the night before. Well, that was a failure because all I did was drink and then run terribly in the morning and make myself just feel even sicker than I already was. I tried to manage, moderate, and restrict the things I already knew were out of control. We don't micromanage things that are healthy. We don't take breaks from things that are working. If something is really serving you, like genuinely adding value to your life, why would you need to cut back? Here's the truth. So many of us say, I don't have a problem. I'm just cutting back. Or I'm taking a break. That's all. But think about it. Nobody says, I'm cutting back on going to the gym. It's just doing too much good in my life. Or I think I've been eating too healthy. I should probably tone that down. No, we cut back when we feel like something is starting to get away from us, when we've slipped into old patterns. Same thing happens with drinking. You go too hard one weekend and suddenly you're saying, I'm going to cut back. And here's the thing, sometimes cutting back is just that, a reset, a recalibration. And if you can truly cut back and eliminate the bad effects of whatever you were doing, maybe it's not an addiction. But if you can't stay cut back, if you always end up right back where you started or worse, that's something to look at a little deeper because that cycle, that's not freedom. That's something else entirely. So, what about when you decide to stop? You've realized whatever you have been hiding is no longer serving you. Now what? This is where so many people get stuck. It feels like the end, but really, it's the beginning. This is the part when you remove the thing that you were using to numb, cope, or avoid, and everything that's hiding underneath starts to come to the surface. And that can feel overwhelming. You might feel raw, exposed, anxious, emotional in ways you never thought possible. The memory of that middle literally makes me get goosebumps. But here's the thing, you don't need to have all the answers. You just need a plan, and you definitely need support. This could be different for everyone. For me, as you heard in episode 1, I went to an AA meeting, and maybe that's what you do too, or another type of meeting. It could also be reaching out to a friend or getting a therapist. I highly recommend getting it out there. Keeping it in, hiding it, is what got you here. So get it out, connect, network, and be honest. Tell your truth. Stopping is the first change, but learning how to live without it quickly comes next. And you are not weak for needing support. You're smart for getting it. My network is one of the lifelines to my recovery, not just in drinking, but in every challenge life throws my way. It's hard, but it's beautiful. So let me ask you again, what are you hiding? What's the thing you do when no one's watching? The thing you minimize, laugh off, explain away, but deep down it leaves you feeling worse. That's where healing starts, not in judgment, but in honesty. You're not broken. You're just protecting something, and you don't have to keep doing it alone. Thanks for being here today. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend who might be in hiding too. Follow along on Instagram at Middle of It Podcast. And if you're feeling brave, send me a message and tell me, what are you in the middle of right now? Remember, you're not lost. You're just in the middle of it. And you don't have to stay hidden. Until next time, keep going.